Today I've got a special guest, Coach Earl Rowan. If you've been in Cleveland or in Bradley County, you know he's a lifelong educator for over 50 years, and he's coached everything from baseball to basketball at Lee College, Bradley High School, and he's better known than we are. It's going to be a great discussion. You know,
it looks good.
If the wind's not blowing, 42 is fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time they called you Coach Rowan?
Yeah. You mentioned that, and I hadn't thought about this angle, but my first principal, when I was first assigned to the Bradley County school system, to East Cleveland School, 1966, my principal, Pauline Taylor was her name at the time. She later married, in her later years, a guy named Shorty Guerin.
Oh, I remember Shorty.
He happened to be Greg Guerin's grandfather.
That's right.
Jerry Guerin's father.
Yeah.
And Miss Polly and Mr. Guerin, Shorty, were husband and wife for the last probably 20 years of their lives. They married late in life, but Miss Polly married, she lived to be 97 or so. But the point is, when I became her 8th grade teacher, she never called me Coach Rowan. It was always Mr. Rowan. Mm-hmm. And my basketball team and my students picked up on that, and they never called me Coach Rowan. Even though I coached all of their sports, basketball, softball, track and field, the men's portion. Randall Mantooth coached all of the girls' sports. It was always Mr. Rowan, and that stuck the first 9 years. So it was really, in answer to your question, when I went to Lee College to become coached there, that everybody called me Coach. And then at Bradley, 34 years of teaching at Bradley, almost nobody called me Mr. Rowan anymore. It was Coach.
So you've been Coach Rowan since you was 34?
Since I was 30.
30.
Yeah. And there was one of my students at Bradley asked me, because he had been there 3-4 years, and he had never seen me coach a thing. And yet everybody from the principal on down called me Coach Rowan. Mm-hmm. And so he asked in class one day, Coach Rowan, what exactly do you coach? And I chuckled and said, well, I don't coach anything. It's just what I have coached. I have coached a little of everything: basketball, baseball, cross country, track and field, you name it. And I've been involved. But I don't currently coach anything and haven't for a number of years. He said, yeah, I get it. He said, that's what my grandpa calls an over-the-hill has-been. I said, you got it. You got it. I'm an over-the-hill has-been.
That was a little bit smart aleck, wasn't it?
No, he was good-natured.
Oh,
he was just, he really wanted to know, what do you coach? And when I explained all that, he came up with his own, tied it in with his grandpa, and said, that my grandpa says that's an over-the-hill has-been.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland, Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call.
Did you go to Lee as a student?
I did. That's what brought me to Cleveland, Tennessee.
Where were you
Bradley
from
County.
originally?
South Georgia, Berrien County, which is just north of Valdosta. That's what I've always told people, and everybody in this area knows where Valdosta or Tifton is, but nobody knows where Nashville or Berrien County. When I say I'm from Nashville, Georgia, and I'm often corrected, you mean Nashville, Tennessee, don't you? I said, no, Nashville, Georgia. That's between Enigma, Alapahaw, and Ray City, all in my home county.
Did you come here because it was a Bible college?
No, because it was a Church of God college. My mom and dad are a long time, were before they each passed on, stalwarts in the Church of God. I was raised in the church in South Georgia, and I had two different pastors who both had strong ties and connections with Lee College. And one was a young pastor, 24, 25 years of age, in his second pastorate, and he and his wife worked so well with young people in the church, and they were not going to hear of me going to ABAC Junior College or the University of Georgia or Valdosta State. They insisted that I check Lee out. And honestly, Dee, I'd never seen the place. I'd never been to Cleveland, Tennessee. And so I corresponded with them. They sent me the packets and the bulletin, and I saw the course offerings and so forth. And I enrolled and was accepted and came to Cleveland, Tennessee. And never had visited at all. It was not part of college day activities, was not recruited. My pastor did the recruiting, and they were just thrilled that I had chosen to come to Lee, which is where they went to college, you know. So the alumni factor paid off in that respect in getting me to come to Lee College.
It's changed a whole lot, obviously, in 50 years.
When Dr. Paul Kahn became the president in 1986, things began to change, and it was steady every year, a new building every year.
Prior to that, it was sort of at one stage, wasn't it? Until he took over, it was sort of like just...
It was growing slowly. I'll give you some of my memory. When I came in the fall of 1962, there were 565 students at Lee. 5 total. That included a 4-year Bible college, a 2-year junior college, a school of music. It was just what you could term a small, sleepy little Bible college or church-related school in southeast Tennessee. 565 students. Everybody got to know each other. We even had after about 2 weeks on campus, we had a school-wide picnic and had a great time. You know, Pop and Mom Muncie, who ran the cafeteria, they seemed like every student just kind of thought of Pop Muncie as their grandpa. And he was so personable. And they would fix hot dogs and hamburgers and various types of sandwiches and potato salad and baked beans. And we would have a picnic on campus, and everybody would turn out. And it would give you a chance to see all the girls, and if you didn't know a couple of hundred of the 565 students, get to know the rest of the people that you didn't know. And then it slowly grew. this was in the 60s. By the time I came back to become a member of the faculty and take over, I took over for Dale Hughes in 1975, which was 13 years after I came as a freshman. When Dale left his position as the athletic director and head basketball coach at Lee and a member of the faculty, he went to Bradley High School to become principal. And I replaced him as the head basketball coach, and we were also starting a baseball program at the time. And during the time that I was there, mainly from 75 to 82, the enrollment had grown to somewhere around 1,000. It got eventually to about 1,200. And we thought that was really making some strides from 500 to 1,200 in just a little over 10 years. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, we didn't know what was in store. I think Dr. Kahn had a vision. He definitely did.
Yeah.
And I think maybe he was even surprised that it happened with regularity and so quickly. I mean, at one point they were gaining 150, 200, 300 students every year.
Well, it'd be hard to manage that in a way, wouldn't it? I mean, that's a lot of extra people.
And eventually, of course, it reached 5,500 from 1,200.
Is that about what it is now, I guess?
They've dropped since the pandemic, and it's somewhere now, I think, I was reading this, somewhere around 37 to 4,000. So they've dropped several hundred from their peak back in, I guess, 2018, 2019, long in that time.
Why would the pandemic have so much to do with that? Because of online studies, maybe?
That's one factor, for sure. And then all of the finances to go to college, more and more students across the nation might have opted in the last 3 or 4 years to stay closer to home rather than travel. Lee gets students from most of the 50 states and some foreign countries. So it's not, we have a good blend of local talent from the area here, just like Cleveland State. But I don't know all of the factors that would cause enrollment to drop, but they have brought back in a person who worked in student recruitment just in the past 6 months or so. And she has been given the task of building that back up.
I wonder if it may be because people just over the years have not ended up having as many kids. Maybe there's just not that many people.
That could be.
I mean, we were the baby. Are you in the baby boomers, or you're?
I am right at the end or the beginning of.
And I'm at the very, very end.
Yep. Okay.
And so,
I was born in 1944, and I think the baby boomers began in 1945 or 6 is when they started.
And it ended about 66.
Yep.
So
somewhere in the 60s.
So I guess we might as well assume that the population's going down, I guess, or no, but maybe not as much of an increase.
Yep. I read something where just in the last couple of days where this is mind-boggling, but due to exactly what you're talking about, I think it was 12,000 people a day. 12,000 in the United States are turning 65 each day. That's because of the baby boomers. And it's and
that's going to be that way every day.
Be that way.
That's how many in a year.
But just like you said, I don't think that the birth rate is keeping pace with that baby boomer that's continuing to turn 60 or 65 years of age.
It's almost like maybe maybe there's been a decrease in the increase. Not that there's a decrease, but just maybe it's starting to
slowing
level
down.
off.
Yep.
I don't know what that means for the future, and
I
maybe
don't-
things change. I don't see people having 6 kids like they did.
No, they're not going to pick up the slack.
No. Do you have
It's,
any brothers and sisters?
I do. We had 5 kids in my family.
See,
I'm
that's the point.
oldest.
And I got a brother, so that's to our
I have
point.
a brother who is 10 years younger than I am, and I have 3 sisters. We're all still living. And they're all centered somewhere in the South Georgia area. Not exactly in my home county, but 2 of them are, and 2 of them are in nearby counties, Thomas and Colquitt County, just off the interstate. But they're all South Georgia centered. And
Do you visit home much?
yeah, I do. Back, well, when my mom was still living, she passed away in 2005, and my dad much earlier, but 1989 was when Dad passed. But in going home to see Mom all through the 1990s until she passed in 2005, Kathy, my wife, and I would take all of our breaks and go to Florida. I love sunshine, warm weather, and of course March here in Bradley County is still very cool.
Yeah, and windy.
And I love going to Florida in March because it's instant. You go from sometimes 45-degree weather to 75 and 78-degree weather, just like flipping a switch. And I love it. I would spend an entire week of spring break. Now, I learned when I was a young man I learned which areas of Florida to go to. When I was in my 20s, I was gung-ho about spring break on the beach. Single, but as I got married, I got older, I never wanted to go to Daytona or Fort Lauderdale during spring break. Kathy and I took our spring breaks in Central Florida, around Orlando, Kissimmee, to go to the theme parks, to go to spring training, baseball. The Braves came in the 90s to the Disney complex, and I loved it. Sometimes I'd go twice in the same week to see Braves spring training. And then right on the south side of town, the Houston Astros had been in Kissimmee forever. And I had seen them and became a fan. And Kathy and I would just go to the spring break, spring training, just kick back for 5 to 7 days, spring break. Then we'd go back to a condo that we had in on the beach in Daytona in the summertime and use that area. And then in the fall, go back. This time I would go to the beach side, the Daytona area, in the fall because it's not nearly as crowded in October as
And still
March.
some warm, right?
Oh, yeah. And then, well, October in Florida, it'll be 80 degrees. I mean, it's warm. So it was a good time of the year. And then we always, until the pandemic, every Christmas since I'd been in Bradley County, I always went home for Christmas. Home was the home place, the farm. So there's 4 trips to South Georgia: spring break, summertime in Florida, fall break, and Christmas. And then Mom had a stroke in the 90s, and we had to kind of look in on her and care for her during weekends. We had a lady stay with her all during the week. And so every few weeks, I would go home for a long weekend and spend time with Mom and fix her breakfast and things like this. I looked forward to that. So bottom line is, yeah, I was back and forth to South Georgia from the mid-90s to 2005, 8 times a year. I kept Interstate 75 warm. And
What is it, about 6 hour or about 4 hour drive?
oh no, it used to be around 6, and as Atlanta traffic grew over the last 20, 25 years, it became a 7, and now sometimes it even takes 7.5, 8 hours. Atlanta traffic is on my bad list. There's just no way to get through Atlanta anymore.
I had a friend of mine that comes in ever so often, and he lives in Florida, and he'll leave out at like 4 in the morning to miss the morning
Yep,
traffic.
you have to plan it that way. And, you know, the best day to travel through Atlanta is Sunday. If
Morning
you
or
leave Sunday
any-
morning. Everybody is at church or sleeping in. And there's very little activity as far as traffic at 9, 10, 10:30
So you can just-
Sunday morning. You can just drive right through. And the best day of the year, and my family in South Georgia doesn't much appreciate this, but we try to go 2 or 3 days early. But we get together on Christmas Eve still to this day. We have our big family get together, about 50 strong now. Used to be just us kids. And as we got to having kids and all of this, the family grew. And now we have a church fellowship hall, a nearby Baptist church, that we secure for a Christmas Eve get together. And then on Christmas Day, we eat breakfast with some of the family and then come back to Bradley County. Christmas Day is one of the best travel days of the year. Nobody's traveling,
Yeah.
except a few of us who have learned that, and a few 18-wheelers. That's about it.
It's nice that your family gets together still like that.
Oh, we Mom and Dad just laid the foundation for that. I mean, when we were kids, as each of my younger siblings came along, you know, when I was like 10, 12, 14, I always had younger brothers and sisters.
Cousins and stuff?
Huh?
Cousins during that? Any cousins? I'm
a
sure.
lot of cousins, but as far as Christmas get-together, it's just my family, you know, our family, Mom and Dad's family. Now, we have a big-time family reunion once a year of my grandparents' family, and my stars are living. It got too big, and we had to cut it down to just my grandparents. Originally, it was my great-grandparents. In other words, my grandparents, Mom and Dad.
Rowan?
Yeah, and they had numerous names.
Yeah.
There were more people, and they came to the old home place because my grandmother was still living, and until this was in the mid-1950s when I was a kid growing up. And it got too big. I mean, like 200 people around a home place, and they just decided, everybody agreed it was just too big. I mean, the food was great, the fellowship, but we were beginning, the younger folks didn't know 2/3 of the people, to be honest with you. The older folks knew the old-timers, and the younger folks didn't know their fellow younger folks. I mean, you could talk and introduce yourself, but when it became just my grandparents, that was, my grandparents had 9 children who are my uncles and aunts. And that was a big family get-together. And that family get-together is still going on the first weekend in May every spring. And we've lost all of my uncles and aunts, and of course my mom and dad, all of the original, the 40-year-olds used to be our parents. And now it's the cousins, as you said. Even it's getting down to second and third cousins. But we're still doing it and have probably 50, 60 people, which is a good size reunion. It's not like 150, 200. But we have plenty of food and fellowship, and each of my grandparents' children, that's my mom and dad, and all of my dad's, this is my dad's family, all of his brothers and sisters, their descendants, even to this year. I mean, we'll continue this. Whoever is there will take 2 to 5 minutes and talk about what all their family's been doing and who's doing what, and give a little report. And it may take, when you go through my dad having 8 brothers and sisters, it may take 45 minutes, but it's fun. You know, everybody laughs and they inject comments, and it's just fun. And this is after everybody has already had their fill of a great meal and desserts galore. And it's just old-fashioned family love and values. I don't know if we're going to talk any at all about current stuff later on, Dee, but it is America at its best. It's what the left coast and New York and New Jersey refers to as flyover country, and rural South Georgia is like that. But they still have emphasis on family and love and get together, and still have emphasis in their schools on teaching things that are right, even discipline and values. You know, it's what America is getting away from, and I hate to see that.
Do you think that you know, I go to my mother's every Sunday and we eat with my brother and his wife, and it's a real small group. But that's not anything like what you're talking about, a yearly reunion.
Yeah.
And your grandparents were even more extreme than that.
Yeah.
You know, I used to get this letter from this guy every year, and he'd send me a Christmas card every year, and he'd tell what their family had done. That's similar to what you're saying. That used to be a common practice. They'd send the Christmas cards, and they'd list what all's been going on in their family.
Yep.
And one Christmas, it just stopped. And that was probably 5 years ago. But I guess nobody else, I didn't send him one.
Yeah.
So those things are gone. Is it because we're busy? Or I don't think it's because our values have changed.
Each individual group, you have to determine, this is what we want to do. Is it that important to get together and keep it going? And this is what we 15, 20, 25 years ago heard from some of the older folks, that when we would go to these family reunions, now you guys who are younger are going to have to keep this going. And now, all of a sudden, we're the senior citizens, and we're telling a lot of 25 and 30 and 35-year-old nephews and nieces, now you guys are going to have to keep this going, you know, and so...
But it's not going to keep going, probably, is it? Is it because people are busy, or is it because divorce and now you got 4 families to go to and you don't know where to go, so you just don't go to any?
I don't know. In our family, there's a good chance that it will continue, because these cousins, for example, have grown up in this type atmosphere. I mean, since they were toddlers, since they were learning to walk, they were attending get-togethers with Uncle Earl, Aunt Kathy, and Uncle Glenn, and so on. They have known us all of their lives, and now they've got their own kids, and those kids are, in some cases, graduating high school and going off to college.
And got their own families,
Yep.
their wives' family to go to.
You know, one time a year, and sometimes a couple of times a year, that is Christmas and the family get-together. And most of these younger folks who are 23 or so are coming back to one or the other. And they'll bring their own kids, babies, toddlers, and so on, you know. So I think there's a good group that will continue this. Now, you may lose some, but I think that the opportunity will still be there to have a family get-together, a family reunion in May, and also have the Christmas goings on too.
The new generations that doesn't keep up with this and have reunions, what do you think they're missing out on? What advantages would there be?
Oh my! It's the first thing that I would think of is that strong feeling of love and togetherness that is just not exhibited in all people's family. And because we have had emphasis on togetherness, now we don't all go necessarily to the same church denomination. That is not even a factor. It's the fact that we are family, and we hug, and now we had a problem there during COVID.
Yeah.
My brother, for example, he didn't skip a beat. And if anybody didn't want a hug in 2020 and 2021, they would have to quickly say, no, Uncle Red, because that's just his style. He's jovial, he's outgoing, and he's going to grab you and hug you. Because he hadn't seen you in at least a year.
Yeah.
And but we had, now my wife was just the part of the other type. She believed in, she had her half dozen masks, and she was very careful about hugs for a couple of years there. Fortunately, she's gotten over it a little bit, but we had to tread carefully in our Christmas get-togethers and so forth, because some really of the family didn't want any real close hugs. That 2 years earlier, it was just no big deal,
Yeah, and you didn't know who was like
That's
that.
exactly right. And it wasn't necessarily a political thing. It was, some were more conscious of health practices, and others said, don't worry about it. We're all family, But
do you think that the reunions and families staying together is important? That the main reason is you feel as if someone else cares about you. I mean, your mother and your dad and your brother does, or your sister, but to know someone else outside of your extreme family, that someone else cares about what's going on with you.
I think so.
And if they care, then you don't want to disappoint them, and you want to make them proud or something.
I have in my own family, going back to my grandparents and my mom and dad, my dad's parents, and his 8 brothers and sisters. Right now, I have a 96-year-old first cousin, and he is the oldest of my grandparents' vast family. My grandparents ended up having 42 grandchildren. He's one of them, and I'm one of them. My dad happened to be the baby of the family, so my younger siblings, like I have a sister who is this year turning 65, and she's the baby of all of my grandparents' 42 grandchildren. He's not the oldest, but he has reached the age that is the oldest, 96. And I get a card from him every year, usually around Christmas, and the last two have said, he'll mention just 3 or 4 lines of things that are important to him, and then he'll say, I'm 94 and hanging in there. And then the next year, I'm 95 and hanging in there. This year, I got one that said, hey, I'm 96, Earl, hanging in there.
Is his health good?
It is.
Does he have any secrets?
I think he grew up on his dad's farm, and I can't help but believe, in talking with him and reading a lot, that if you're active, what they call rambling around a farm,
Yeah.
when you're 90, I think that helps you tremendously. And I look right here in Bradley County at several farmers who have reached 90. I think of David K. Wood, who was a former Bradley coach, athletic director for 20 plus years. His dad, TJ, right up North Lee Highway, was tending to his cattle in his 90s. And he made it to either 96, 97. Now, his last year or two, according to David, were not quality years. And David said, that's what you got to think about. As long as you can hit 90 or 95 and still be active, it's great. But
I think active is the most important thing.
I think so. I have another cousin, not a blood cousin, but he married one of my first cousins, one of my dad's brother's daughters. And he's even older. He is 98. And one thing that when I go to South Georgia, to the home place, I don't see him often now at 98 on his tractor or his pickup truck, but up until 3 years or so ago, anytime I was in South Georgia, I would talk with him, and because he would come by, he would kick up the dust on dirt roads, and I would often ask him, "You're still climbing on that tractor?" "Oh yeah, it keeps me going," he said, and I believe that. I think as if you can muster up a little bit of strength when you're 92 or 94 and climb on a tractor or bounce around a big truck on the back roads, on a farm, or do any type of work like that.
And I think it's important to not stop. I don't know if you could stop doing anything at 80 and pick it up at 85. I think you have to keep the ones that I know that are in there. I got a friend of mine, good friend of mine, he's 93. He just got married, got remarried, and she's 93. 93, yep. And he goes all the time, man, and he's never stopped. And so, and it's just amazing. I think the key to it is, I don't think the key to it is stress busy. I think it's actively working on trying to accomplish stuff.
Yep. Folks, in the last 3 or 4 years especially, have asked me, and I'm pushing 80, I'm 79, and before the next football season, I don't mind admitting, I'll be 80 years old. And
How old do you feel?
60.
About
honestly.
60.
Yep. I haven't had a lot of change.
You're in good health. You're in good shape.
Yeah.
You walk good and everything else.
I quit running road races really just to save my knees. I saw so many friends, Turner Jackson,
Yeah.
Bill Curtis, who had both knees replaced, younger than me.
I don't think that's good. Maybe if they ran in the grass, it might be different.
The constant pounding
Yeah.
is not good, and
I don't have to go to school to figure that out, do you?
yeah, that's the truth. But in the broadcasting work, sports broadcasting, that Gary Ownbey and I
Yeah.
and Gwen do, folks know that I've been doing this for as long as they can remember, and many of them are 60 and 70 years old. And they've been listening to me on the radio all of their lives. And they want to know, how much longer are you going to do this? And I said, I don't know. But as long as I enjoy it and get excited, and I do. This year, when Boo Carter, who could not get excited when Boo Carter returns a kickoff 98 yards for a touchdown? And just leaving 6, 8 people behind that should have tackled him. And it just gets me out of my seat. And I'm pounding the table, and sometimes we're on top of a press box, a few places we go, and Gary Ownbey will say on his mic live, Coach Rowan is about to jump off the press box, It gets exciting. And I will know when I'm no longer able to talk, to speak clearly, to keep stats and so forth, And once that starts to slip, I don't care if it's 80 or 82 or if it happened at 71, I'm out.
Well, and maybe you don't look for, am I thinking right, or do I feel sick, or my leg's tired, or maybe the key to it is not even think about that, because if you think about it, you may see it where it's maybe not really there. Just ignore it.
If you're not careful in anything that you do, anything, I don't care what occupation, what job, what career you're in, if you're not careful, you have a tendency to think, oh my goodness, I'm 68 years old. So what? So what? Well, most of my friends have retired. Well, maybe that's for them. Maybe you might go to 84. Oh, and they have trouble believing that.
Hey, all kids don't walk at the same age or
There
talk
you go.
at the same age.
There you go.
I see some people in their late 40s they just, it's almost like they embrace getting old. Like they're finally arrived. They finally have got to where they can take it easy and relax.
They've seen some people, maybe family members, maybe some friends, who honestly just like they embrace that getting old, and they have an image of how a 65 or a 70-year-old is supposed to walk, talk, behave, think. And I've never, that's not me. I don't embrace that. Age is nothing but a number. And therefore, if you can still run road races at 80, run road races. I mean, hey, you don't look for the recliner just because you hit 70. I don't agree with that. And therefore, I quit running my own road races in my mid-60s to save my knees. And I had this mental thing. Now, I still, at that time, and which is 14, 15 years ago, I decided to start walking and replace that. I also quit my umpiring high school and college baseball games because of the constant up and down behind the plate. You don't get to sit down 2.5 hours out there calling balls and strikes.
Especially an umpire, he's having
You're up and down
Yeah.
every pitch. That's not good. And that's really for younger people, and I stayed with it until I was in my mid-60s.
That's a lot.
Had no desire to have people say, well, look at Earl, he's 74 and he's still umpiring, Well, maybe I should have done something else, but
If you had it do all over again, would you quit or kept going?
what, umpiring? No, I think I made the right decision. It was fun. I enjoyed all aspects of what I have done in life. I never let the fact that you're going to upset some people. I went out on the baseball field when I was 22, 24 as an umpire, or when I was 64. I knew this, Dee. I studied my rule book and the case book that gives you hundreds of situations every stinking year. Every spring break in Florida, I would spend hours lying around the pool reading the rule book.
Because you need to know them on a fly.
Yes, and just like that. I mean, you didn't have time to think about this situation. Well, what is this?
No, they'd
You had to know
question,
it.
they'd question you then for sure.
All
Do you
right.
think an umpire is important for him to act like that's it, strike, ball, out, fly?
An umpire, I've thought about this through the decades. An umpire is a judge. You're supposed to operate just like our justice system. You're supposed to be unbiased. Most umpires and referees are quality sports people. There are a few crooks. I mean, they will cheat. And as a coach, I've run into.
But
a
what
few.
would be the purpose on the local stuff like that? Who would care?
Well, sometimes they have biases toward a particular team, like when Bradley and McMinn, this goes way back, Bradley-McMinn rivalry.
Was that the umpire they used to call Dirty Deals?
A Dirty Deal, yeah, Bob Deal. I've had Bob Deal, Dirty Deal. I call my own basketball games. He was a basketball referee, although he was more known for baseball. Dirty Deal.
He was known that to this day. I never met him, never heard of him, but I remember hearing that.
And you know what? He has a story, and I heard him say this. If a basketball coach was getting on his case, and sometimes get as close as we are, and say, "Come on, Dirty, you missed that." I have heard him say, "Coach, you can't say that. That is Mr. Dirty to you." And that would just ease the tension. Okay, Mr. Dirty, Mr. Dirty. And that was fine with him. He said, if you call me Mr. Dirty, then you can disagree and say, yeah, you missed that one, but don't you ever say, hey, Dirty, you just missed that call, but he was a good official.
Did you ever go to Fulbright? Were you ever at Fulbright Park with Corky Whitlock and Coach Palmer
Yep.
and I guess
Bill Talley.
Bill Talley? Yeah.
Yes. Bill Talley.
Did you know Mr. Geithner?
Oh, yes,
That
John
was my
Geithner,
coach. Boy, he was.
the Yankees.
I was on the Yankees.
Yes.
I was the pitcher.
If you played for John Geithner, you were a Yankee.
I was a pitcher for 3 years.
If you played for Corky, you were a Philly. Yeah, that's where I learned my trade.
I was the main pitcher for all 3 years, and I got 3 trophies for the most home runs hit.
Well,
he was a great guy, wasn't he?
Oh, Mr. Geithner, Corky, Doyle Palmer, Bill Talley.
See, I don't remember Bill Talley there for some reason. I remember.
Bill Talley won a state championship with the Nationals in 1963 or 4. I was still a college student, and he was young himself.
Well, the first time, we lived on Norman Chapel Road, which was just over from Fulbright.
Mm-hmm.
And so my cousins, I rode with them to play Little League T-ball,
Mm-hmm.
and so they let me go out there and play, or tryouts, or whatever it was. And Coach Palmer was hitting balls,
Yep.
and I was supposed to. It was my turn, and I looked up. The sun was in my eyes, and I went like that, and the ball fell right in my glove. I mean, I didn't go out. It was just like that, and it just fell right in my glove. And he put me on second base because I could catch.
Doyle Palmer and Bill Talley, for 3 or 4 straight years, ran the T-League program at Fulbright Park.
That's where but I just don't remember Bill Talley. And I would have remembered him because of his arms.
Oh, absolutely. If you ever saw when he became the head baseball coach at Cleveland High School, it was a treat to watch fans from the opposing team that had never seen Bill Talley, and he would take his fungo bat and go out from the pitcher's mound. He wouldn't stand at the plate and hit fly balls to the outfielders. He would go out mid infield and do that. Mm-hmm. But my stars, he would pitch the ball up and hit it, even with his nubs. And for a person, a mom or a grandma that had never seen Bill Talley operate, they were amazed. They would just stop sometimes on their way to the bleacher seats and said, "Oh my goodness, Mom, look at this." And it was like they had never seen a person who was handicapped in such a fashion as Bill Talley was. But man alive, he got the job done. And did you ever have an opportunity to see Bill Talley write you a note?
No, but my friend Steve Hickson, or Doughball, he's always really...
His handwriting was just perfect. I mean, better than ours.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that he couldn't do very well, sometimes I would eat with Bill Talley at the old Shoney's up from Fulbright Park. And Bill was very independent. You know, he drove, he wrote, he hit his own infield as a coach. But when we were sitting there across from each other, if he had tea or coffee and he had a couple of packs of sugar or sweet and low, he couldn't maneuver that, couldn't tear it.
Yeah.
And he'd flip it over just like a deck of cards, you know, and say, "Earl, help me out here a little bit. Help me out here." That was the only thing that he would ask for help.
I believe it's a mystery why his arms were like that, wasn't it? Or what was the cause?
Well, it was through birth defects. He's been like that. He was born that way. And something happened in the womb, and before he was born. And he was been like that his entire life. But he overcame it. Boy, oh boy. I mean, he had a normal life. Sports manager when he was a high school student at Bradley for the football team, the basketball team, you know.
They made it, Alan Jones had a statue made of it.
Yeah, yeah. And to see what all he accomplished in his life, and was a fantastic coach. Not just baseball. He was the head baseball coach, but he was also the 9th grade football head coach. And you'd go out to the practice field and watch those big football players practice, and Bill would get down into a stance and show them exactly what he wanted them to do as far as blocking technique. Even though here he was, and they had so much respect for him, even though he was severely handicapped, and he didn't let it bother him one bit. He was a better coach than the majority of football coaches who there's nothing wrong with. It's just amazing to me to watch the guy. But I had my own. We had Bill Talley, the administration did, come back to address a huge portion of the student body in our new auditorium. Now,
Was that like in 10 years ago or 8 years ago or something?
It sure was.
Seems like I remember that.
Okay, he came back to a packed house of about half of our student body, 600-800 people gathered in that auditorium, and the administration said, you go so far back with Coach Talley, would you take 4 or 5 minutes and introduce him? I said, oh, Lord, I'll be honored to. And so I did, and one of the things that I mentioned in passing was the fact that I was umpiring one of his games when he was the head baseball coach at Cleveland High School. And he disagreed with one of my ball and strike calls. I had my mask off, and here came Coach Talley from his third base coaching box. I mean, he was just getting it. Those little legs were just wobbling, and he said he was yelling time 3 or 4 times while he was still trying to get down to the plate. Oh, I'd really frustrated him. Time. He wanted to make sure that he had time, and he let me know immediately. He didn't call me Mr. Ump. He said, Earl, you just flat missed that call. How could you miss that so bad? And I said, no, that was a strike, Bill. And I had called his guy out. Oh, he was furious. And so he started kicking dirt, and I let him go, you know, and he kicked a little bit onto the plate, you know, Major League style. And I stopped him. I said, hey, Bill, look, just between us right here, I about had enough of this, and you are not going to just cover up the plate. And I said, I've had enough. And that calmed him down. And so I took my broom out, and I uncovered the plate and did all that, you know. And I said, all right, now get on back down to your third base coaching box, and we'll forget about this. Otherwise, I said, if you continue this, you're not going to be around, because I'm going to give you the old heave-ho that you know very well. I know how to do it. And he said, all right. And I went through that, not quite as long, but I talked about that, and then I summed it up with one of the greatest coaches of our area, you know, and really lauded him
Yeah.
and told a lot of good things about him. And then when he came and took the mic to say his 20 or so minutes that he was going to talk with the teenagers at Bradley, the first thing he said, I really appreciate Coach Rowan and all the kind things he had to say. And then he paused for about 5 seconds and looked at me and he said, but you know what, you still missed that call bad. And the kids just loved it, you know.
He probably still thought that, really.
Yeah,
didn't
he definitely thought that. Yeah, and I might have missed a few now and then, but
Well, you got to call him as you see him. You
what
got to
now?
call him as you see him, right?
Oh, you've got to definitely. Hey, that's one thing. I told you I read that rule book. When I went on the field, I knew this, Dee, that I don't care if I was a 30-year-old umpire or a 60-year-old umpire, I knew that I knew the rules, I knew the situation, and I was going to give them the best game that I could give them. Unbiased, and I felt like that when I went on the field, especially after I had all that experience, you've got one of the best umpires in Southeast Tennessee, right here. And I'm going to give you 7 innings of, I may miss a few, but it won't be a dozen or so misses. So you do your thing, you coach, and that's the way most of the coaches approached it. You know, they did have a lot of respect as you gained experience. If you had the reputation of being a hardworking, knowledgeable, good umpire, they would stay off your case. And I got along with baseball coaches really, really well in the entire Southeast Tennessee area. And because I felt like, you know, you do your job, you're trying to be the best coach you can be, I'm going to be the best umpire I can be. I'm not out here for the money. I'm out here because I enjoy the game, and I'm going to give you a good game. And that helped tremendously.
What about some of those people that were coach year after year after year, like Mr. Geithner, for no money?
Yep.
You know, and to this day, I still refer back to stuff Mr. Coach Geithner told me,
Yeah,
because he was a great guy.
he sure was. Yep.
And you know, one of my biggest regrets is I was at Earl's restaurant one day, and I hadn't seen him in 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, because I was what,
Yeah.
15 then, or 14 or 13, something like
Yeah.
that. And of course, he was my coach for 3 years. Back then, it was 3
Yeah.
years. And I saw him at Earl's, and he saw me, and we locked eyes, and I didn't speak to him. And why I didn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest, because he could have helped me.
Yeah.
Even today,
Yeah.
he was that kind of guy. You know, because at whatever age, I was probably 30, something like that. You know, no, 35. It was, I might have even been 40. It was on up there.
Well, I called a lot of Mr. Geithner's games, Corky's games, Dole's games.
Yeah.
That's where I got my start in umpiring. Is Fulbright Park, 1967. After my first year of teaching at East Cleveland School, I needed some extra income for the summertime. And I was out at Fulbright Park, 6 nights a week.
Oh, yeah.
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 And I thought, man, I'm doing pretty well. I'm making some money because I was making $3
A game.
A game.
Yeah.
But I called 2 games, so every night,
$6.
$6, $36.
And probably
for
got
the
free
week.
hot dogs, maybe.
We got free hot dogs. You know, we didn't get 4 and 5 a night, but you could get a hot dog. And at a scrimmage game, well, when we, the Bears, this past fall, scrimmaged Alcoa. It drew a good crowd, just a practice game before the season started. And I went up and sat down with Gary, and Jimmy Clark was there. I don't know if you know Jimmy Clark.
I don't know Jimmy.
Okay, Jimmy Clark, his dad and mom, Jim and Mildred Clark, were the directors of Fulbright Park. And they were out there 6 nights a week. And I said, when Gary told me, he said, Earl, this is Jim Clark. I said, Jim Clark, the son of Jim and Mildred Clark from Fulbright Park? And I said, the old quarterback? He just beamed, because Jimmy Clark, young Jimmy Clark, was the quarterback in the first Bradley-Cleveland football game, 1965. And, but yeah, I was out there 6 nights a week.
Till about what year, roughly?
Well, I started, Steve Benton and I started coaching the Dixie Boys All-Stars. Steve asked me to help him with the Hawks. The Hawks baseball team, this is 13 and 14-year-old league.
That was that what they called the Pony League?
It was Dixie Boys.
Dixie Boys.
Yep. It was a step beyond Dixie Youth. Dixie Youth that Mr. Geithner was involved in, that Corky was involved in, was 9 through 12.
Well, I played for the Angels in that.
Okay, that's 13, 14 year old.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I played for them too.
Okay.
Then.
You were one of those teams that we whipped up on always.
Well, I can't remember who I played. Was it the Angels? I believe it
the
was.
Angels.
I never can remember that guy's name. I think his name was Randy.
We had the Colts and the Angels and the 45s, and we had 8 teams in the league.
There's another. And I played All-Stars too.
Okay.
On those, but there was another team, Senators. Was it Senators?
Yep.
Jeff Lovingood. Remember all them?
Yep.
John Lovingood.
Yeah. Jim was our Dixie Boys president, their dad.
Yeah.
For, I guess, during the time that Jeff and John were coming up through that program. But.
Yeah, that's right. But the daddy, that's right. I got that confused. Yeah, John was, he was always a catcher.
Okay.
John was catcher a lot, mostly.
But I started working with Steve Benton in 1971, and we coached the Hawks through the 77 season. And by that time, I was already involved at Lee full-time, and I also had to start on my master's program at Middle Tennessee State University. And since I was so involved in coaching during the school year, I just couldn't take a night class or something like that. I had to do my master's work on summertime.
Wasn't that about the time that Fulbright moved?
It was still there all during the time that I was involved, which was through the 70s. And I guess in the 80s, sometime it moved out to the new place on Urbane Road.
I wonder if it's the same to those kids. I'm going to say it's just not the same.
I doubt if the feeling is the same. I don't know.
Who created that feeling? Was it just everybody's that era that we were in, or was it there were long-time coaches that became synonymous with their teams. That's right, such as Mr. Geithner.
Yeah, and far more than just them. Corky, for example, coached the Phillies 35 years. Mr. Geithner did the same with the Yankees, Doyle Palmer with the Dodgers, and you can just go on and on and on.
What made those people do that all those years? Was that their mission?
They were competitive. It was a well-organized program, and it was family. I mean, their kids were growing up in that program.
Maybe there wasn't that much to do in Cleveland at the time.
Maybe so. And the entire family got involved.
Oh yeah, it was a big thing.
It was a big thing.
I remember having the schedule on the refrigerator with a magnet, and everybody in the family. Okay, this is when the games are.
Played twice a week.
Played twice a week. We practiced out at Stewart School.
Yep. You could practice wherever you could find the field.
Oh, we had practice like twice a week.
Yeah, we did. I mean, talking about Fulbright, and we'll get back with this, but talking about practice, Dee, when I went to East Cleveland School and met my principal, Miss Pauline Guerin, she showed me all around the school, my classroom. Her office was next door to my classroom, showed me the library, and all of this. Spent an hour and a half. We talked about what I would be teaching and so on. And then I finally got around to the point. I said, now, Miss Taylor, she was Taylor before she married Shorty Guerin. I said, I know and you know that I've been recommended to be your 8th grade teacher, but I'm also interested in the other phase of this job, and that is I was told that I could be your basketball coach. And she said, oh, yes, that goes along. I was just assuming that you wanted to coach basketball. We're looking forward to that. And I said, well, you have showed me my classroom to be, told me all about the curriculum, the books. I said, I want to see the gym. And she said, well, now, Mr. Rowan, that's something we're going to need to talk about. She said, we don't have a gym, but we have one of the finest blacktops outdoor court in all of Bradley County. I said, well, that's good. And she took me out and showed me the outdoor court just out adjacent to the backside of the gym. And I said, now, I'm having been here as a student at Lee, I know that it gets extremely cold during the wintertime, during basketball season. Yeah. How do you practice in December and January and February? And without any hesitation, she looked at me and said, oh, we don't practice during the cold weather times. She said, we come out here to the outdoor court all through September and October, and then we just, when it gets too cold, we don't practice. We just go and play games. I said, well, now, that's not gonna fly with me. I said, I don't think you can develop a very good team if you don't have regular practice and all of that. And I said, she said, well, I'm sure if you call Sam Ledford out at Michigan Avenue, it's not very far from here, that he might lend you a night a week or so that you could practice if you want to. And I said, well, I was thinking 4 or 5 times a week, not just 1 time a week. She said, well, I don't know if that's going to be possible. So I did call Sam, and he let us have Monday nights once a week. And that was all he was going to give us, not 4 times a week. But I called various other people, principals, Daniel Davis up at North Lee, and Charlie Flowers out at Hopewell, and Mr. John Cartwright down at Black Fox. We had 4 schools in Bradley County that were all just alike as far as their gyms. They're still They're the
I
brick,
guess, yeah.
little small gyms with bleachers on one side. Hopewell, Michigan Avenue, Black Fox.
Prospect, I think.
Prospect had the old-fashioned wooden gym. And the 4 brick gyms were used for everybody who didn't have gyms, which was
I see.
over half the county, didn't have a gym, just like East Cleveland. But we would use their gyms on a Thursday night, and then they would play their home schedule, North Lee, Black Fox, all those schools with gyms on Friday night. But they didn't use Prospect's gym. Prospect used their gym, and everybody in the county basically had to go to Prospect once a year to play Prospect. But it was not up to standards, and I don't mean as far as not being clean or a good floor, but it was a short court. The top of the circle, the key, would almost touch the center circle line where you would jump center. I mean, it would come within a foot. So the court was way shorter, which we ran a full court press with those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and it was just devastating at Prospect. On a short court, you get 5 guys and you can have traps galore. But also, the ceiling was too low for a standard gym at Prospect. And a couple times every game, we'd have a player that would shoot an outside shot and hit the ceiling. And of course, ground rules would kill it, and they'd be the other team's ball, you know, even if it came down and just about made the basket, you know. But all of those other gyms were in use, and they were heavily used. And people would come to those games, capacity crowds, standing room only, and those little small gyms, you know, which would be only a few hundred people, but not like 2,000 or so come to high school games. But they really turned out on Thursday and Friday nights in support of the elementary school basketball program. But
now, what did you ever know Larry Sales?
Oh yeah,
What
he was at Prospect and Michigan Avenue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was an umpire forever, wasn't he?
Oh, football referee and a basketball referee
And a tobacco chewer.
and a
Golly, he'd chew tobacco, wouldn't he?
Yes, he. And you know, the TSSAA started through the years cutting down on, made it part of the rules. They figured that coaches should not chew tobacco. Well, it just about kills some coaches.
That wouldn't have worked for Larry.
No. I mean, you had, sometimes they would cheat and pretend that they didn't have anything, but they'd have their cup over in the corner of the dugout or on their bench.
Whatever happened, he passed away a few years.
Larry passed at a fairly young age. He's been gone many years.
He ended up working for the city at Parks Department.
He was the environmental director, the cleanliness man.
I always thought that was ironic because he chewed tobacco.
Yeah, you're right. But he did a great job with that, and was well organized. Some people they didn't understand Larry.
He was a little abrasive, right? Maybe?
Oh, Lord, was he? He was the epitome of a take charge guy. And when he would come, I don't care if it was inside of a gym, if he were refereeing your basketball game, or if he was on the football field. Those were the two that he, and of course softball. But when Larry showed up, he put his game face on, is what you're talking about, abrasive. He would square his shoulders up and walk like a drill sergeant.
I just see him with that whistle in his mouth.
And
he'd walk with the whistle,
Yeah, and dare you, if you were coaching or a fan, just dare you disagree with my call. I'm in charge
He
here.
he commanded the game.
He commanded the game. He was in charge. And that's what you look for in a good official, somebody that is confident, somebody that knows the rules, and somebody that just takes charge.
And they're going to make decisions quickly and stand
That's
by.
exactly right. And usually they don't question somebody like
No, they
Larry
won't.
Sells. No.
You can sort of bluff them.
He's so emphatic in his call. You know, if you're kind of halfway.
That's why they make all those motions to
Yeah,
let you know
exactly.
that they're very confident.
Yep. I mean, just call it. I mean, and even if you miss one occasionally, be emphatic.
That's right.
Yep, that's the way to
Where
do
do
it.
you think they originally got the name Coach? What is that? Because in talking with this, you're a coach is a baseball, a basketball. So a coach is not necessarily. I mean, wonder where the origin of the word coach. What does that mean? I mean, I know you got a stage coach, coach you along.
Well,
where
a coach is
maybe
it's
it's
an
from the word
instructor,
coax.
a teacher. A coach is a teacher. A coach is instructing you on how to improve your game.
Or maybe he's trying to keep you pushing forward. Mm-hmm. But could a coach be a coach in something that he's not familiar with? Could he still be a good coach?
I think some people can be a good coach. Maybe they're missing an occasional aspect of the game by reading good books, instructional books. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've met some coaches that really they didn't have a participation or a playing background, but because they were so focused on the basics and they read up on the particular sport, and Bill Talley, Bill couldn't play sports, but boy,
Mr. Geithner couldn't hardly throw.
Yeah.
I remember that. He wasn't really a good thrower.
Right there tells you that you don't have to be a top-notch player. Michael Jordan may not have been an outstanding coach, even though he was tremendous at playing the game, because you've got to have that empathy too. You've got to understand some players, you can't just climb their frame and chew them out. Their personalities are such that they can't take that very well. Others, you can just rip them, and they respond well to that.
And some people can rip you and it not bother you, and others cannot, and that bothers you. So
that's
it's
true.
just some people's got a talent for that, and some don't.
You've got to figure out each individual on your team as quickly as you can, their personality.
And how yours interacts with them.
Yep, exactly. And you've obviously got to be excellent with your motivational skills, and that comes from not just having done it or reading about it, but part of your inner being yourself. You know, if you are competitive by nature and it bothers you to lose, as it does most coaches, but it bothers some more than others. You've got to pick up on that and be able to translate that to your team, to the various individuals, and they respond then based on how you react. I mean, if it doesn't seem to bother you to have 20 turnovers in a basketball game, if you're not going to be upset, then why should they try to reduce it to just 6 instead of 20, which is the difference in winning and losing? You know, so it has to bother you to lose.
But do you think that's what is the original reason for sports at an early age, do you think it's obviously exercise? But back then they didn't even think about exercise the way we do.
Yeah.
But how ingenious it was to start those programs that I guess you almost want to instill a little competition in them.
Yeah.
A little bit angry because I got beat.
Yep.
I'm trying to I'm going to start on third base this week. I want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a coach does. He tries to instill that in you, I guess. But isn't it funny that once we get out of sports is the only thing that we have a coach on. If I had Mr. Geithner or a Mr. Geithner type guy today, there's no telling what I could do.
Yep. Well, you know, just in the last few years, Dee, you mentioned that, in education around Bradley and Cleveland and Walker Valley, they have now, just in the last 10 years probably, Gwen can probably tell us, we have now certified people who are called graduation coaches. Instead of teachers, they're a graduation coach. And their task is to take people who are right on the margin, borderline failures, and try to get them across the finish line.
But what about the guy that's not? He just needs to keep having a coach. What are you going to do for that guy?
Well, you're
20, saying
20 plus years ago, you know, the Bush administration, came up with their educational program, No Child Left Behind. Mm-hmm. We got to the point where at some point in my 50 years in education, when I first started, there was no emphasis on that. It was the old-fashioned, you were plugged into categories A, B, C, D, or F. And nobody really created a turmoil if a few students in each class got Fs. It was just...
Or failed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The failure.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Or being retained in 5th grade or 3rd grade or
did not pass to the next class.
That's exactly right. And then there, at some point years ago, there began to be pressure from the federal level, state level, and administration at the local level that no one should fail. No one. You know, so what it did was you did try to help that person who needed extra coaching, extra learning technique in order to make 70. But at the same time, education got into this business of reducing the standards, watering it down,
so that we don't have to make so much effort to bring these people up that probably don't even care. That's not their thing.
And I'm going to be honest with you. If we put huge emphasis now. I'm not just down on education. I'm not knocking education, but we put huge emphasis on the graduation rate, and it's got to go up. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was not unusual for the typical high school to have a graduation rate of 70, 72, 75%.
It was an honor to have graduated.
Yes.
You did a lot of studying.
Okay. But then teachers and administrators were being wrapped over the head at, hey, the graduation rate's got to go up. Well, sometimes you'd work your fingers to the bone, put in extra hours, and move the graduation rate 1 percentage point. I mean, you're working hard. Good teachers. And so, hey, if the state officials keep insisting, going after your scalp, that this 74% graduation rate has got to move up. Well, what do you want it to be? It needs to be at least 85, 88%. And then if you reach 88, then it's got to be 92, 96. We've got to keep moving forward. And you know what? I maybe shouldn't say this, but teachers began to say, okay, so what they're interested in are
Numbers.
statistics, numbers improving.
Well, let's just lower our standards. No problem.
Yeah.
Right?
So instead of 70 being required to be let's make it 60.
Yeah.
Or what's wrong with 55?
Or don't give as hard a test.
Yeah, make the test
Yeah.
easier. Make the test easier. And so it works. I mean, all of a sudden, you're being given blue ribbons, applauded, because over the last 8 years, X school here has moved from 74 to 90%.
Boy, they're doing great.
Oh, they're
right?
really
They're
doing
good.
great, which, everybody's happy. So,
Maybe, I don't know the answer, do you?
no, it's,
And I don't think that's
and we know, how do we know over the last 15, 20 years this has happened? All you have to do is check with any college in the area and hear them complain about having math students, English students, or students who have difficulty reading at grade level their freshman year in college. How many remedial courses are having to be given to incoming 18-year-olds? And hey, they're putting the blame back. Who were the high school teachers and administrators who approved this? These people can't do the work that is expected at the freshman level in college. And everybody wants to keep passing the blame,
maybe they'll drop the college standards, and then nobody.
Let me tell you, I'm old-fashioned, but basically, if we want a strong education program across America, people have to learn to read first, second, third grade, or even before school. I was reading because I had my grandmother that I talked about, the family reunion and traditions, before I started the school. I was doing what they call my numbers, addition. I could count and I could add 2 plus 2. And we
It
didn't
had
have
those blocks,
kindergarten.
that had the painted sides and.
Yep. And my grandmother, I got the opportunity to live with her. She lived with us into her 80s. And by the time I was 4, 5, preschool age, and on into 6, 7, 8, 9 years of age before she passed away, oh my goodness, I was so far advanced as far as the basics. And that was because I had a granny who, she didn't get paid, she loved me. And I sat in her lap when I was 4 and 5 and 6 for hours on a regular basis, and I learned to do my math, to do my numbers, to do the ABCs, to write, and to read. And therefore, when I was in first grade, second grade, third grade, instead of being behind, I was ahead. That's the secret. Today, I think a lot of parents are too busy, they're too involved, a lot of good activities, but where are you sitting down with your 5, 6, 7-year-old and helping them for 2 hours a night with their schoolwork? Or are we exposing them also? Well, this is one of my pet peeves, but instead of having newspapers and magazines and so forth, they're on gadgets.
Oh, I know it.
Yep. And therefore, they don't learn the basics, I call it: reading, writing, and arithmetic. I don't care how many decades in the future we have, it still goes back to the 3 R's as far as the basics. You can talk about diversity, inclusion, and equity, and all these social issues all you want to.
That's separate, isn't it?
That's separate.
Separate.
That's social.
Yeah.
That's social. It's not part of the basic curriculum. And until we get back to that basic curriculum, and there's questions in the state of Tennessee of whether or not students should be passed on to 4th grade or retained in 3rd grade if they can't pass a certain test. It is controversial. But until we get the basics, that student is likely to struggle their freshman year in high school also. And then they're going to struggle at the college level.
And they're just going to give up. They're just going to give up. They think it's not their thing.
It's frustrating to them.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. But you've got to challenge youngsters to learn to read, to learn to count, to learn to do math, to learn to write.
And in sports, be a little competitive.
Right.
I mean,
Yep. Just like if you start football players, wrestlers, or basketball players, baseball players at age 5, 6, 7, and you teach them the basics, that same formula has to be carried out in education. And people basically, you can't have 6, 8, 10-year-olds wanting to get on their gadgets, smartphones, their computers, and just have fun, play games, if it's not going to benefit them educationally. And too many young people think of studying or doing their homework as boring. Somehow you've got to make it interesting. On the other hand, now I love U.S. history, government, geography. I had maps that were puzzles when I was 6, 7, 8 years of age. And I would put the United States together for fun. And it became very, very enjoyable to me to put the puzzle here. Texas belongs here, and Montana goes up here, and so forth. And by doing that puzzle, it was fun, and yet I was learning where Oregon was in connection with New Jersey.
and it's a different size.
Honestly, Dee, it just frustrated me to no end to have high school kids, juniors and seniors, and I stumbled onto this through my social studies work. The last 19 years, I taught at Bradley High School, mainly a course called Contemporary Issues and Current Events. I had no book. Some teachers said, how can you teach without a book? Well, you have newspapers, you have magazines, and you have the internet, and I taped stuff off the news, and we learned from that. But I stumbled onto this. Some of our landmark places. You go into a typical, any school, good schools, and ask a typical junior in high school, what state is Mount Rushmore in? They don't have a clue. Ask them what state the Grand Canyon's in. They don't have a clue. I mean, it's just horrifying. And ask them where the Statue of Liberty is. Where is it?
They couldn't tell you, could
They can't tell you. They don't know unless they have traveled and been there. But the majority will not know. You know, you ask them all of these various landmarks. So I just wrote down, printed, not computerized or anything, just got a piece of paper and listed maybe 25 different landmarks. Everglades, Florida. They do know where the Great Smoky Mountains are.
Yeah.
That was...
You think we're raising a bunch of people that are not as obviously. What's going to happen in the future? 20, 30 years from now? Just everybody rely on artificial intelligence?
I fear. You know, we are hit between the eyes often with how much stronger schools are that put more emphasis. Like, I mean, our rivals, Chinese schools, Japanese schools, even a lot of European schools, they go to school longer, they have more rigorous work. I mean, they really are pushed. And therefore, I wince half through the years when I see the statistics that in U.S. history or social studies in general, when we are maybe 21st in the world. And that's my area.
Who's doing the calculations on that? I mean, who determines
Well,
that?
through standardized testing. You know, you can, if you're, it's just like, it's like worldwide tennis. You know, you don't have to be an American. Novak's not. And so therefore you can compete the Middle East against Germany, against Canada, against the United States, against Japan, you know, in golf, tennis, and so forth, you know. Now, our Major League Baseball and our NBA basketball, we bring in a handful, a few, from around the world that can compete in our program, but pretty much so we dominate our version of football that's called soccer elsewhere, you know. We have, not everybody is a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning overseas. They don't emphasize that. But golf and tennis and sports like that, oftentimes we're not the best. You know, it's somebody from different countries. And it's the same way with education. I mean, if you bring 30 students from the United States and 30 from China, Japan, and Germany, let them compete. And you will pretty well see. And I've noticed this too. And I don't think this is unique just to Bradley Central High School. I think it's true at Walker Valley. I think it's true at Cleveland and all other high schools. I worry, and I didn't used to pay that much attention when I was 25, 35, and 40 years of age, but as I got more experienced, I noticed that they ranked, well, the rankings just came out, which is kind of controversial too, a couple of weeks ago on the actual letter grade that each school got across the state of Tennessee. And, you know, I don't worry about the upper 20% of Bradley's student body, of Cleveland's student body, or Walker Valley, or anybody else. It's that other 75 or 80%. They sometimes buy into 4 years of high school, it's going to be fun. And I'm just going to do just enough to get by. Therefore, they're not very well educated. And if they take a standardized test, the 75% on the lower end, and I'm talking in some cases B and C students, they pull the upper 20, 25% down. And it reflects against the entire school.
Oh, I see.
But
You almost have to throw out the upper 20% and the lower 20%.
Almost all schools, top 15 or 20%, they're going to do well. I mean, just because you may graduate from a very rural high school that is not image-wise one of the elite, you may go to an elite school because you're that good. But overall, if you get away from that top 15%, 20%, those students may struggle at the college level. And it's because they don't put the proper emphasis. They think they're well educated, but take a 100-item test, and some of those standardized tests are pretty tough, even for teachers. I mean, they're tough. And unless you are really, really prepared, it's going to show. It's just going to show. But nevertheless, we take great pride. The top 15, 20, 25%, hey, America's in good hands. But overall, we've got some ground to make up. Let me just put it like that.
What do you think about in local here, combining the city and county schools? That's a big topic right now, isn't it?
Yeah, Mayor Davis tried to emphasize, I'm just throwing this out for talk. I don't see it coming. I mean, I don't care who proposes it. Things are just too firmly entrenched. It's true, you have some duplicate services, but you also have jobs and you have a power structure there. And Cleveland and Bradley educational power structure is not going to give up that power, the positions, very easily.
It's going to be that'll be an uphill battle, won't it?
It sure will be. It sure will be. I don't see it coming in the next few years. I mean, and Mayor Davis is saying, and he's correct, if we're ever going to do this like in the next 10, 15 years, what's wrong with right now? We have a vacancy in Cleveland City Schools directorship. Dr. Dyer's already on the job in West Tennessee. So if we're going to do it, let's explore this idea. I see what the mayor is saying, but I personally don't expect it to catch on and become reality in the next couple of years.
It seems to me like there's too many people that are for city schools or county schools, or I mean the old timers that have went to Bradley, they're just not gonna they're not gonna give that up. I don't think.
Jeffrey Garrett, back anyhow, he treats us. He enjoyed sitting around in the social studies office, just like we've been doing, but just a shorter period of time. He would drop in for 20 minutes or so before school, sometimes every day,
Yeah.
and listen to Bill Bates and me and Jack
I remember I had
Harlow.
Bill Bates. I had him. What was he taught? I can't remember.
U.S. history.
He was a nice guy.
World history.
What's he doing now? Is he still there?
He's retired and living. See, he married T.J. Kaywood that we were talking about, his daughter Anita.
I didn't know that.
Bill Bates and David Kaywood are brother-in-laws.
I didn't know that.
I'm glad I'm leaving one little bit of local information with
Well, I tell you what,
that
you can't talk about anybody in Cleveland, can you?
you can't. No, there are so many connections.
Cleveland and Bradley County has done so good at raising kids for years. I hope it continues, and maybe it is. Maybe it's just not like it used to be. Maybe that doesn't mean anything, really.
Talking about, you can't say anything. When and I guess you were already. When did you say you came to Bradley, Gwen?
07, fall of 07.
Okay, that was coming in with Johnny McDaniel?
First year, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Johnny Mac had come from Florida, but he attended Lee and had connections with the Tomlinson College and all in his youth, in his younger years. And he was at Lee when I was coaching basketball there. So he knew me, but I didn't know him. And so when we got acquainted with each other, reacquainted, I guess, when he came in 2007, he listened to me talk, which is just normal day-to-day stuff, like we've been, whatever you want to talk about. And he, through the first 2-3 weeks of his first year at Bradley as principal, he picked up on the fact of, and he knew that I had been a long-time teacher from the 60s on. And he came to me and said, hey, sometime when you have an hour or maybe hour and a half after school, drop into my office and let's just talk. And I said, sure. And what he wanted to talk about, I could give him who this person was in connection with this person. Are they friends or is this somebody's son-in-law?
Right.
And just cut through the chafe. Mm-hmm. And I early on became somebody that he could trust. And so I shared local information, just local stuff. Mm. Some people would call it gossip, family connections. Who was the power in this area, and who were the movers and shakers in this area, and how it all connected, and who were political enemies.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes fierce enemies.
Oh, yeah.
Bradley
County has that.
So it helped him become quicker acquainted with the situation because he was new to the job and did a great job. But in the end, he still got crossed sideways with the power structure and family connections and cost him his job, after some 8 years or so. But anyhow, that's the way it goes. And
You can't teach that, can you? Things just are. That's just life experience, isn't it?
yep, that's
Do
the
you
truth.
consider yourself a teacher or a coach?
Teacher, no doubt about it. I mean, that's what I.
Or is it the same thing?
No. You got sports world. I was a teacher until 3:30, and then I became a coach. And after school, when I retired, I was in Cracker Barrel one day, and it just hit me. I didn't realize that so many people in Bradley County, my home area here, had no idea that coaches taught school. They think that
That you're just getting paid for just.
to coach.
Yeah.
Yep. Because here's what happened. My first year out in retirement, 2017, I was in Cracker Barrel with Kathy, and this guy just in passing, Earl, how are you? Small talk. And we spent just 4 minutes maybe. He didn't want to bother me with my meal, and he was leaving anyway. This is his question. What are you doing now that you're no longer a basketball coach? I said, well, I'm teaching. I have my teaching job. He looked at me real quickly and said, oh, you teach too? I said, yes. I've been teaching all 14 years that I've been coaching basketball. Well, I didn't know that, he said. He said, I thought all of you coaches just coached. I said, oh, no.
How would you pay him just to coach, right?
Yeah. We get a supplement to coach the extra time, but I said, no, I've been teaching U.S. history classes and have a planning time. And at 3:30, then we go practice basketball, or 4 o'clock, or whatever, But
Do you have any other hobbies, or is it just local sports?
My hobbies, honestly, were doing things like umpiring. I did that for 34 years, and I enjoy reading. And I still work out with a personal trainer twice a week.
Where at?
Lori Nichols, her husband Larry, he passed away a few years ago, but they developed their own machines called True Line, and she's located across the street from the woolen mill, the old woolen mill.
Isn't that where Hannah is?
Okay, it's 1 block from
from
Body
Hannah.
by Hannah.
Yeah.
I go by that every time I go over.
So Nichols, is that Larry Nichols? Wasn't he like in his mid-70s? Mm-hmm. Or is that the same? Am I thinking the same one?
Yeah, Ray. He had sons named Ray.
Yeah.
They, at one time, were at Bradley. He got crossed sideways with some of the Bradley football coaches. They weren't doing things the way Larry wanted weightlifting done, is the issue.
Yeah.
I knew all about it.
Yeah.
And I got along great with Larry Nichols, but he switched them to Cleveland. And but Lori knows her stuff. She's a former fitness competitor back in her younger years and so forth, So I got to the point, just like we were saying a little while ago, where you've still got to do something. Because I was a coach, I was always running. I would do some machine work and so forth in my 30s and 40s and 50s. And then when I got out of coaching, I kept running. But then when I quit with the road races, 10Ks and 5Ks and that sort of thing, and just practice running, I used to run 5 miles a day most days, and then one day a week we would do 3 or 4 of us get together and do what we call our long run and do 10 miles. I've never been into marathon. That to me is drudgery. I have no desire whatsoever to run 26
Are you familiar
miles.
with Goggins on the internet, that guy that does those long endurance races and stuff, those really
No, I don't know
like
him.
100 miles? When you work out, is it like a 30-minute stretching thing, or do you really work out?
No, I don't really work out. I told Lori 12 years ago, I said, I sense that I am not doing anything, and you got to keep moving. And therefore, I've got to work out. And so I understand. She knew exactly what I was talking about. When I was a coach, I figured I'm staying in shape. I'm running. I ran with the boys. I tell this humorous little story, but it's the truth, Dee. When I went to Bradley as the head basketball coach, I was 38 years old. Every fall we ran, and basketball players don't like to run. They're not like wrestlers, for example. Wrestlers, they get after it. Basketball players want to play with a basketball, but you got to get in shape. So I brought the Lee College training with me over to Bradley, and we ran for 6 weeks or so, and I ran with them. I could see which ones were the slackers, and I've told a lot of people in jest that I knew that it was time for me to turn it over to a younger man in basketball coaching, even though I was just in my 50s, that I was not going to be a Jim Smitty and coach till I was 68 or 70 years old. Because when I went to Bradley, we had a couple of managers and 18 boys on the varsity and the JV team, about 20 people in a herd out running. And literally, as a 38-year-old, there would usually every year be about 2 guys on my basketball team that would run 5 miles and finish back in front of me. That's the truth. As a 38-year-old, competing against 15 to 18-year-olds, you would think that half to 2/3 of the team at 38 would be ahead of me. Not so. Well, 14 years later, in my last year of coaching, I said I knew it was time to quit when I was out running one big guy, usually slow big guy, and my 2 managers. That was it, literally. All the rest of my
Had you
team.
been out of shape, or were
No,
you
it
still?
just
It
decreased.
decreased.
I lost that much time in between your 30s and your 50s. You will slow down generally. Now there are exceptions.
Cardio is a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
In just
Now
about
in basketball, you're constantly running. See.
you're probably running more in basketball than you are football. Would you
Oh,
say?
lots more.
I mean, you're
football players have 2 teams. Basketball players have to do offense and defense.
In baseball, they just need to run kind of quick spurts.
Yeah, and then they get to sit in the dugout for every other half inning. See,
Basketball is probably more endurance, with the exception of track.
and let me tell you another quick story. You know Jody Adams, Joe's
Yeah,
daughter.
Joe. Yeah.
Joe,
yeah,
Coach Joe
yeah.
Adams. Jody is, she's the head coach right now, I think, at New Mexico State University. She's out west somewhere. But when Jody was in her senior year at Bradley, 1989, she was already being recruited by Pat Summitt. And Jody got to play 2 years later on a national championship team. One of Pat's, eight national titles. 1991, when she was in her sophomore year. She was the point guard for the Tennessee Lady Vols. Well, during her senior year, I went in one Sunday late afternoon to my basketball office for some reason. We weren't having practice, and I sensed that somebody was out on the court. It was Jody. She had just a couple of the lights on. It was getting late in the afternoon, and she had obviously already gone through all of her shooting, because that's what most basketball players at the high school level do on the weekends. If they're going to come to the gym for an hour, they're going to shoot and shoot and shoot. Jody had already finished her shooting, and you know what she was doing?
What?
You know what suicides are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She was running suicides from the baseline, foul line, back, base to the half line and back, to the three-quarter line and back, to the length of the court and back. I mean, hard. Nobody was out there with her. She didn't have a coach. It was just Jody. And I stood outside in the hallway so I wouldn't bother her and watched her. And she was demonstrating to me what the inner fiber she had to have in order to play for the Lady Vols and win a national championship, number one. That's where you make national champions right there. Was anybody else on the Barretts doing that? No, not one person. But she knew what she wanted. And Joe, I give a lot of credit to her dad. Joe sat down and told her what it was going to take when she was 7, 9, 12. It didn't just happen in 3 years of playing at Bradley for Jim Smitty. It was already there, and she just took it.
Do you think practice can overcome skill?
You can improve it. You've got to have a little bit of natural talent.
But can
You can get better, obviously.
But can a person that's got natural talent, does he always win over the person that works harder to get good?
The person who works harder, if they've got reasonably good skill, that will to win, that I'm going to be number one.
You think that'll overcome natural ability?
Yep, I do. If
What about
if the natural ability, if that person is just kind of sleepwalking or going through it. Now, if they have that same fierce desire,
That's
that
different.
you've got the complete, that's Michael Jordan. You know, that's Novak. They have the natural ability and they have that will to be number one. You're not going to overcome, you're not going to get ahead of that guy. I mean, that's the way it is. But
And maybe those people that have that we think have natural ability, maybe back in the dark where nobody's looking, maybe they're trying to get that natural talent. Does that make sense?
well, you're saying that the person who has the natural
Or we
ability,
think they have the natural ability. Maybe they've really been trying
well,
to.
we don't always know what they're doing.
Yeah, we don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They may have been working on that for years.
Yeah, Terrence Oglesby, for example, played for Kent and went on to get a scholarship to Clemson. He's probably in his late 30s now. He was a 2007 graduate of Bradley. And he had this daily routine, and he would do it even if something was, for instance, after Kent Smith's 2-hour basketball practice. Immediately after, maybe the Bradley gym would not be available because of some special program. You know, audio visuals might have they've got it booked.
Yeah.
So Terrence had this deal every day after practice. He would find a gym. If somebody was bumping him off the court of his own basketball gym, then he would go to the Cleveland Community Center or to the Y or go someplace and shoot 500 outside shots every day. Now that's why he was such a prolific three-point shooter. It wasn't that the good Lord just smiled upon him and blessed him with a high percentage of his shot. No, Terrence took what the good Lord blessed him with, and that was a good shooting touch and agility and strength and all this, athletic ability. And then Terrence, not the good Lord, took it to a higher level. You know, he gives everybody a certain amount of ability. You have to find your niche. You know, I'm not, Gwen and Gary Ownbey can tell you that I don't know which plugs to fix on broadcasting sports. That's the electronic part, the gadget part is just not my bag. And Corky tried for 48 years to teach me the ins and outs, but I didn't like it. But you give me a microphone and let's talk football, and I'm in my groove. You know, that's if you want me to keep stats, oh yeah, I'll keep the stats, you know, quickly and make comments too. And before I got glasses, I used to carry my binoculars between age 22 and 52. And every single play, I would have my binoculars around my neck, and instead of having glasses that I have to keep stats now, I would have the glasses right there. Because I didn't have a headset. Corky, all 48 years that I worked with him, I don't care if it was me, Gary, and Corky, three of us. Gwen, you know this, don't you? How many microphones do you think were available?
No clue. One.
One. Guess who always had their hand on the microphone?
Corky, I'm guessing, yeah.
Corky, and if Corky would be here, I would be in the middle, and then there's Gary. And Corky would often, he'd do the play, you know, blah, 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 you know, he's telling you what's happening. And then he would, right here's Earl, you know. And if, in order to get Gary involved, he would he would skip me and say, Gary, what did you think about that play? You know, and here goes the microphone. And Gary takes 20, 30 seconds and does his commenting, you know. And Corky is so professional, he's not going to interrupt. You know, he knows I'm silent, you know. But then it's right back to Corky. You know, now we have headsets, and we have to be careful not to step over each other, you know, and shut up and let the other guy describe it, you know.
What was Corky like on a personal level?
Corky, when we traveled, loved to talk, but talk about pleasant things, not controversial. Now he wouldn't mind if it was just me and Corky, or me, Gary, and Corky, and we wanted to talk about the merger of the school systems, and it's controversial. He would definitely talk about that because he's a newsman, and he would be interested in getting our opinions. What do you hear out there in the community and so forth, you know? But he did not like the hateful, competitive, the political divisions. That was not Corky. Corky was truly all for Cleveland and Bradley County. And when I say Cleveland and Bradley County, a lot of Bradley High School fans, football fans, basketball fans, didn't really get the fact that Corky Whitlock, he's our Bradley broadcaster, but he truly does not have a bone in his body that hates Blue Raiders sports. And a lot of Bradley fans could not understand. One guy told me one time, Earl, I listened to you and Corky over in Middle Tennessee in the football playoffs, and if I didn't know better, I would have thought you were pulling for the Blue Raiders. And I said, well, we were. And very early, when I started working with him, when I was in my 20s and 30s, after a while, after 20 years or so, he got to the point where he quit doing this. But Dee, I kid you not, we started playing Cleveland football in 1965. All through the rest of the 60s and all through the 70s and right on when you were in high school. In the 80s, he would say to me before a Bradley Cleveland football broadcast, now, Earl, I know you know this. Yeah, Corky, you've told me 20 years worth. But tonight, it's the Bears and the Raiders, not us and them, we and they. I don't want to hear any of that. All right, and I got to the point where I became professional enough to do. Now, Gary Ownbey, forget Gary. It is us and them. You know, that's the one thing that he would not listen to Corky on. You know, but Corky was insistent on, he said, we have a lot of listeners. And he said, most of them are Bradley folks, but 35 or 40% of them are Cleveland folks.
He was just being respectful.
He sure was professional. Very respectful. Corky did not want to have anybody at Cleveland High School think that he was one-sided, that he was not a fair, straight shooter, and that he would give them just as much praise and accolades as the Bears. And he would not join in. If Gary and I started being really critical, you wouldn't hear Corky say, I feel the same way. Yeah. He would let Gary and me maybe talk about how the tactics of Coach Benny Monroe. Oh, Lord, there's just no sense in them doing this, you know. Corky would just be driving and he'd say, oh, well, now, hey, you know, football is competitive. Football is competitive. That's about all he would say. He's not going to get into this back and forth,
Everybody liked Corky Whitlock.
Everybody. You talk about John Geithner. Even though I was Corky's associate, his cohort in broadcasting all those years, when I was umpiring at Fulbright Park, I was already helping him in football and basketball and baseball broadcast. Even though I was umpiring, the umpire in chief behind the plate, he never ran out on the field just because, well, now I know the umpire pretty well, Corky would walk to, if his dugout was the third base, he would walk a few steps out and stop. Not go on the field. Stop at the third base line every time and say, "Mr. Ump, may I have time, please?" Yes. And then go talk with his pitcher. A lot of managers, coaches at that level, even high school, they are assuming they will charge out of the dugout, wave their hand and say, "Time," not even acknowledge you. It was no "Mr. Ump," time, and in the same process, not even break stride. They're headed for the mound to talk with their pitcher. It's just assumed with a lot of coaches, not with Corky. That's why he was considered a gentleman in the broadcast booth, on the baseball field coaching 12-year-olds, and how he treated umpires, or if he was covering a Board of Education meeting, if he had a question to the superintendent of schools, he'd raise his hand and ask. And nothing, he would not. I look at sometimes how we have deviated in the decorum of the House and the Senate at the U.S. Capitol.
I mean,
I saw yesterday the back and forth Hunter Biden.
Oh, I saw that.
Or was it day before yesterday? Whenever it was.
Yeah.
And they both stood up.
That's crazy.
That's a U.S. senator and whatever he was talking before the Senate committee. You don't stand up and disagree, okay. But you don't stand up and challenge somebody to a fist fight right there in the congressional hearing room. I mean, let's
And you don't win with that.
No,
you don't. Even if it was okay, you don't win with it.
You don't do these things.
Dale Carnegie says, "Never criticize, condemn, or complain."
Okay,
I guess
that's true.
That was old principles.
That's true. That's the truth.
Coach Rowan, I'm glad people like you are out there, buddy.